Yes, it's Eric Preven, county resident from District 3. It is a long day, so I'm sure you're all eager to get out of here, as am I. Mr. Antonovich, I wanted to address what you were talking about earlier when you suggested, I just want you to know that nobody has a monopoly on compassion for victims of crime, myself included. 2 days before my son was born, my good friend Roland Kuster was murdered in Hollywood, and thankfully was brought to justice by law enforcement. His family, of course, will never recover from that loss, and I want to thank you for all you've done for victims in general. But I think it's a cheap political trick to try to characterize my comments as anything but what they were. I stand with you in support of victims. However, what we were talking about was diversion, and by putting the two items together, I do think it was confusing, certainly for me, and I think possibly for other members of the public. And I would ask you to evaluate that as ideas, not as politics. I personally feel badly that I offended you. Moving on to Mr. Saladino, who is checking his mail. We did communicate quite clearly, sir, that the Board of Supervisors ought to address Supervisor Molina's very serious allegations about pension spiking and issues of closed session meetings that was looked at by the DA. The DA made a finding, and it is very important that the public understand, under the Brown Act, that the Board of Supervisors understands the finding, concurs with it or doesn't concur with it, so that we can proceed accordingly. So you have not addressed that. I was very upset, I will say, that the Los Angeles Times quoted you as saying we goofed, and they quoted Mr. Dodd, who's a DA, as saying totally inappropriately that it wasn't a big one. I mean, I don't know what a big one looks like if talking about pension spiking inappropriately behind closed doors is not a big one. So I would ask you to respond appropriately. I'd ask the board each to address it, and we can move forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Time's up.